We are in the home stretch, guys. This is X-Force issue 18, and as Marvel says, the final chapter. But as you can see, we still have just a wee bit more to go. And I gotta say, this final battle between Stryfe and Cable, awesome. But before we get into the final song of the X-Cutioner song, let's talk about who made it. This is Fabian Nicieza, writer, Greg Capullo, penciler, Hetty. We're going to start calling Harry Hetty. Harry Candelario doing the inks, Chris Yiannopoulos doing the lettering, Marie Javins doing the colors, Bob Harris, editor, and Tom DeFalco, editor and Stryfe. We're going to go with that. How about that? So for those of you that are just getting with us, let me give you a quick recap according to what Fabian Nicieza says here in the rundown. Professor Xavier has survived his assassination attempt. The X-Squadron has routed the forces which took control of Apocalypse's former moon base. And on the lunar landscape, Cable confronts the one man behind this ballad of madness. Stryfe, time's up. And I don't know about y'all, but was it maybe Cable made in the animated series? He made what, maybe 1-2 appearances? But I still hear the actor's voice in my head. I do not know the actor's name. If y'all do, please let me know. But that's one thing I really do appreciate about that show is it really gave a great voice to all these characters that we know and love. So this is Ghosts in the Machine. And I love this 90s vertical splash page. Just absolutely gorgeous. Seeing the lunar surface and all this awesome detail that the art team put in to make this lunar base just look absolutely amazing. With all these TK visions, they just look like almost anything like an operatic, what do you call it? Rooftop finale, like Batman 89 when he's fighting the Joker. You just see these images, but they feel like gargoyles. Is it really Nathan Dayspring, the Scotty's son? I have killed the architect of the futile dream. I have humbled the parents of the tomorrow pain. Only you remain, my fellow brother. So as you can see, time is up and down, and inside out, and mind to control, which all means that is anyone's borrowed time is up. It is. And they have a moment. Gorgeous artwork as they face off this epic battle. Does it mean that Scott Summers and Jean Grey should have been forgiven for their trespasses? I have no idea what you're talking about. Oh no. And we get these moments from Endgame from X-Force, which we have gone over, so I'll try to make sure to remember to put the playlist up here somewhere so you guys can check it out after this review. Because I think, and I don't quote me on this, you guys can hit up Supertron or our other community member, Sam Gerthy. Those guys always give me great information. But, and this comes from Claremont as well, as initially Madeline Pryor was supposed to be the catalyst that had Scott permanently leave the X-Men. Because Claremont said, and if I remember correctly, when I first met him at one of my local comic things, he was kind of talking to everyone in the crowd. He was talking about how he wanted the X-Men to be kind of like a rotating door, so that people would come, people would go. But it was Byrne who approached, and this comes from Chris Claremont's Uncanny X-Men documentary, which if you've not seen, highly recommend. It is a freaking great interview session with Louis Simonson and the Santee Chris Claremont, and for obvious reasons, separately Jim Shooter, which R.I.P. to the man. John Byrne came to Shooter and suggested the return of Phoenix. And it pissed Claremont off because he was trying to set something up. So essentially that's why Inferno happened, is they had to find a way to explain Madeline. And he just said that he made her a villain and killed her off, which sucks because they had to figure out what to do with Nathan, which in Endgame, I know I'm deterring bad guys. I'm trying to give you a whole bunch of X-Men lore really quick. Apocalypse takes the baby, infects it with the techno-organic virus, and the only way that Scott and Jean can save him, because Jean essentially, because she's the clone of Madeline, is her child. They give it to this woman named Ascani to take into the future so that they can take care of the baby. So here, getting back on track, look at that, I don't deter as much. We see moments from Endgame when Scott saw what happened to his child and had to give. Stryfe here says, oh no, maybe you don't. After all, you're nothing more than a scientific abomination, a failed attempt to preserve a life which did not even need preserving. Stab your eyes, I'm a man. I'm my own man. And they go at it. I mean, Cable wrecks into him, you son of a bitch. Ah, truer words have never been spoken. But as the more that they battle, we realize that the tech bindings that are holding Scott and Jean in place are starting to weaken. And while all that's happening, the Dark Riders are able to get away. And Logan's just had enough of it. Because up to this point, he says, we've been one step behind for too long. Aurora, Stryfe, Charlie, Shiva, Mariko. I'm sick of it. So at this point, we know about Stryfe because he came in at, what was it, New Mutants 86 and 87? I think that's right. And then Professor Xavier was attempted to be killed at the beginning of this event. What was it? It's not Wolverine 50. I can't remember the issue, but the death of Mariko. No, issue 50 is the Shiva Project, which is what he's talking about here, where he finds out a lot of his memories with Creed and his work with, I think it's Department 8, not Department H, I think it's Weapon X. I can't remember, but he finds out a whole lot about himself. And then later down the road, I think it's 54, Mariko's poisoned and she asks Wolverine to end her suffering, so he has to kill her, his wife. So a lot of freaking, what do you call it? History that Scott Liddell, Fabian Nicieza, and everyone is trying to traverse working with all of the X-Riders. And I just like how Wolverine finally just says, I'm sick of it up to this point. Logan, my friend, I understand, but we must accept what is done for now. Elizabeth, Apocalypse was in sole pursuit of the Riders. What has happened to him? And I love that it's 3-3. Because if you think about it, you go back to the Claremont days, the Australian days, these were 3 of those original members because it was these 3, Longshot, Colossus, and Havoc, and Madeline. And so just seeing these 3 working together like that, you see how the closeness, the bond, and then, of course, the new and the old working together, just great work all around. But what's great about this scene is you think, okay, it's just a build-up. They talk about how they since Apocalypse went to go fight the Dark Riders as in last issue. Psylocke says that he's dying. And Warren just says, you two go. What about you, Warren? I can smell Apocalypse's blood. I have to fight him. And he takes off and makes his dying moments as miserable as possible. Warren, for the love of Pete, come back. Come, Drake. Forget about Archangel. Better see what we can do for the living. What are you talking about, Bishop? Warren is the living. And again, I love, and I miss how back in the day, the letterist just wasn't the letterer. They helped enhance the storytelling. I mean, even when you open this book, as Nicieza here gives you the rundown, just that Stryfe just sets Cable's thought process in this issue. And the same with the onomatopoeias, were just the strength of Stryfe against Cable. Going back to that, Bobby, what are you talking about, Bishop? Warren is the living. He says, let's see what we can do for the living. And he drags Drake away saying, is he now? Just a great way to kind of poke at the inner demons that Warren is fighting with. Now, as everything's happening, I'm just going to kind of skip past Xavier. The moment between Archangel and Apocalypse is amazing. Because we see how Warren wants to lean to what he is. Because as my father made me Apocalypse, living to die, dying to live. You don't have much time left. You're not strong, Apocalypse. You are not fit. In your world, you don't deserve, do you? You alter my wings, drape my skin forever in shadows. But you couldn't change the most important part of me. Warren Worthington III didn't have to die just so the Archangel could live. Any more than I need to kill you. Find out what's alive inside of me. No! So essentially, Archangel leaves him alone to die. Now again, let's put ourselves back in the lenses of 1993-ish. We don't know Stryfe's history. We don't know Cable's history. All we know is what we've read so far with Scott and Jean in the pages of X Factor and now Uncanny. The Shield, we find out last issue, only let Cable and Havoc in. So Stryfe gets hit by Havoc and he goes, you relish dealing in pain, don't you, Stryfe? Well, stop crying foul and just cry Havoc. Oh, my mistake. My My genetic matrix shield was programmed for Summer's DNA. I had not considered it would allow the brother through. Well, it did kick me pretty hard for not being Scott, but I've always done a good job of that myself. Again, this is why I hate that modern issues make Havoc such a wuss and more, what's the word I'm looking for? Unsure of himself, because X Factor really fleshed him out and showed that he can be his own man. We see that he's tired of living in Scott's shadow, and he knows that he's his own man and he loves his brother, but he is his own. And with all that happening, still Scott and Jean don't know what's going on. And Jean says, we can work to heal your wounds. Whatever they are, let's work them out together. And I love this moment of what's the word I'm looking for? Oh my God. I always blank out when I'm trying to talk to you guys. Where you open yourself up. But you guys know what I'm saying. He goes, together? All of us together? No, you're lying. If I trust you, you'll just betray me again. I want to believe you. I do. How can I? Why am I suffering this way? And I just love how we go from this moment where we actually see the true Stryfe back to the closing himself off. And he goes, I'm not the guilty one. You, all of you. I leave you what you left me, a legacy of hatred, a loss of hope, a loss of life, a pox on all of you kind. So I just love that very Shakespearean moment, kind of like Mercutio when he says, a curse on all your houses. Kind of the same thing here. Just a great moment. And you can just see the hurt. Stryfe. Look at me with pleading eyes. Ask me for help. Ask me to be your salvation. Ask. Now, as we come to the end, Cable and Scott have a moment of understanding. As we come to an end, it's very bittersweet. And when the singing of the electromagnetic storm is done, nothing is left but deafening silence and the desolate beating of two young people's hearts. Drum beats of despair slowly bring to a close the X-Cutioner song. Damn. That's why I get so upset at modern comics. Because, yeah, there's action, but it doesn't feel like it adds anything to, not to sound pretentious, the zeitgeist. Because if you think about it, Jack Kirby said that comics are our modern mythos. And you can see writers like Claremont, S. John Byrne, Scott Liddell, Fabian Nicieza, Larry Hama, creating things that have lasted the test of time. Yes, it was the 80s, but that's been a time now. Into this year, 2025, what do we celebrate? Things of the past that defined our modern storytelling and things that we want to take and create ourselves. Stories like this. When you ask people, when you love X-Men, what do you love? A lot of people will say the animated series, and that's fine if they never read comics, but unbeknownst, they're still saying that they love what Claremont created. Those in the know will always say Chris Claremont, X-Cutioner song, Age of Apocalypse, to a lesser degree, Onslaught, The Extinction Agenda. All these stories have made an impact on us. That's why we celebrate stories. So, guys, this is how the whole overarch of the X-Cutioner song ends. There are some epilogues that we will go over in the coming days. But I love what happened here in the pages of X-Force 18. It felt very Shakespearean, felt very much an awesome literary adventure with amazing artwork. So if you've enjoyed what you see, please, first and foremost, as I always say, support your local comic shop or wherever it is to get your action figures and comics, and grab the individual floppies if you still can, especially if they're polybags. They come with some epic trading cards. Or see if you can find the collected trades. Or additionally, if you're kind of strapped for cash at times, support your local library, because that's where I'm getting these collected trades, and it's saving me from having to dig through my long boxes and having the chance reading my comics and taking them out of the Mylar bag, so I can at least open this trade and share it with you guys. And if you've enjoyed this review, really would appreciate if you take a moment to like, share, and subscribe. Helps the channel more than you could possibly know. And if you don't mind hitting that fancy little X bell, X subscribe, that way as I get to upload content, you guys get notified. Come to the channel, and I love talking with you on hearing your thoughts and feedback down in the comments or the socials, which I'll make sure that the links down in the description. So with all that said, hope you all continue to have an absolutely amazing day reading, and happy hunting.